My name is Lisa. I'm 32 years old. And I own a digital marketing agency here in Austin, Texas. I was in my office, about to head into a client meeting, when my phone buzzed. It was a text from my parents. David and Karen. We're vacationing in Las Vegas with your sister's family. We emptied the joint account, haha. I stared at the screen. The joint account. The emergency medical fund I had set up after my dad's heart attack. The one I alone had been paying into for 2 years. My fingers didn't tremble. I typed back 2 words. Good luck. Then I put my phone on silent and walked into my meeting. They had no idea. They thought they'd pulled off the ultimate scam. They didn't know that for the last 3 months, I had been tracking their every move. That I had a lawyer. And that they hadn't just started their vacation. They had just walked right into the trap I'd set. Have you ever been the workhorse in the family? Only to be taken for granted. Let me know your story down in the comments. That haha text. It wasn't just cruel. It was the predictable ending to a story I had been living for 20 years. To understand how we got here, you have to go back 2 years. I was in my first tiny office in Austin, trying to get my agency off the ground, when I got the call that my dad, David, had collapsed. A massive heart attack. I remember the sterile smell of the hospital. The constant, sickening beep of the monitors. He almost didn't make it. In that moment of panic, I realized how fragile everything was. We had no safety net. So, when he recovered, I proposed the emergency medical fund. A separate, joint account. I told them I would put in a percentage of my agency's profits every single month. Just in case. I begged my sister, Emily, and her husband, Matthew, to contribute too. They had good jobs. They nodded. Said, of course. And never put in a single dollar. For 2 years. I was the only one. I lived in a 400 square foot studio apartment in East Austin, while my business was growing. I drove a beat-up old car that squealed every time I hit the brakes. I skipped vacations. I worked 16-hour days, pouring every spare dime into my agency and that fund. I watched it grow, feeling a sense of peace, thinking I was protecting them, protecting him. Meanwhile, my sister Emily, the golden child, was living a completely different life. My parents co-signed for her perfect new-build house. They threw her a lavish wedding I knew she couldn't afford. Every holiday, they gushed over her, her husband, her perfect, curated life. I was just Lisa, the reliable one, the workhorse. I'll never forget this one night. About 6 months ago, I was late on my own rent because I just landed a big client. But I hadn't been paid yet. But the automatic transfer to the emergency fund, that still had to go through. I was sitting on my floor, eating instant noodles, watching the money leave my account. And it just clicked. I finally understood my role. In family systems like mine, there are unspoken rules. I was the family scapegoat, not in the rebellious way, but in the way that I existed to absorb the burdens. I was the one who was supposed to be responsible, to carry the weight, to pay the bills. Emily was the golden child. She existed to be perfect, to be praised, and to receive the rewards. My success, my agency, my hard work. It wasn't a source of pride for them. It was just a resource. A new, convenient resource to be tapped, so the real family could continue to have fun. I knew it then. I just didn't know how deep the betrayal could go. That fund wasn't a safety net. It was just another way for me to pay. And for them to take. The haha text was the end. But the real betrayal had started 3 months earlier. It began with a phone call from my dad, David. His voice was weird, shifty. Hey, Lisa, he said, trying to sound casual. Listen, we're a little tight on the property taxes this quarter. I'm just going to pull that $3,000 from the emergency fund. Okay, we'll pay it back. He hung up before I could even answer. It was the property taxes line. It didn't sit right. I'd been paying into that account for 2 years, and he had never touched it. A knot tightened in my stomach. That night, I logged into the joint account. And I just stared. The $3,000 was gone. Sure, But so was another 500. And another 200. Small, random withdrawals. Gas. Groceries. Restaurants. They had been skimming off my emergency fund for weeks. I kept scrolling. And then I saw it. A pending charge. $8,000. The vendor was Caesar's Palace Suites. My heart didn't break. It calcified. I sat there in the dark of my studio apartment. The blue light of the laptop illuminating just nothing. It was a cold, hard moment of clarity. I suddenly realized I wasn't grieving the money. I was grieving the idea of a family I never truly had. The one I'd been desperately trying to buy, to protect, to earn. I understood, in that 1 second, that they didn't just steal from me. They had drained a medical fund, the very fund I created to save his life for a party. They would have let me get sick, get hurt, go bankrupt. They would have let me die. If it meant a free weekend in Vegas? And that realization is what made me pick up the phone. The next morning, I was in the office of a lawyer I'd met at a networking event. A woman who specialized in financial disputes. I laid it all out. She didn't blink. "This is called misuse of funds," she said, "and it's a clear-cut case." That night, I began my silent audit. I dug up the password for an old family group chat I'd muted years ago. And there it was. All of it. Messages between my mom and Emily. Flight confirmations. Links to shows. And then, the one that stopped my breath? My sister. "Emily, are you sure she won't notice the big one?" My mother's reply. "Don't worry. It's Lisa. She'll just work harder. She'll never notice." I screenshotted everything. The chat logs. The bank statements. Every last transaction. My lawyer's advice was simple. Don't stop them. Let them take the trip. The law is much harder on people who have the money than people who plan to. So, I set the trap. I went to a different bank. I opened a new business account and a new personal account. I rerouted all my client invoices. I transferred my real savings. And then, I just waited. I kept paying into the emergency fund. Just enough to look normal. Watching them drain it dry. Knowing that every dollar they stole was just another nail in their own coffin. The story catches back up to that Tuesday morning. I'm in my lawyer's high-rise office in downtown Austin. The skyline sprawling out behind her. The final, notarized documents are sitting on her desk. I'm holding my phone. Looking at that. Ha. Text. I show it to her. She doesn't smile. She just nods once. Well, that's certainly convenient. It's time. While she files the emergency injunction with the court, I make the call. Not to my family. To the bank's fraud department. My voice is calm and steady. I need to report several cards as stolen. I say. And I need to report a massive, unauthorized withdrawal that has emptied my emergency medical fund. I give them the account number. I give them the card numbers. I explain the situation. The fraud agent is efficient. We are locking the account immediately. Ma'am, all associated cards are now deactivated. A full freeze will be in place within 90 seconds, pending the legal order we just received. I thank him. I hang up. The trap was set. The trap was sprung. Then, and only then, I open my texts. I look at my mother's mocking haha. And I type my reply. Good luck. I silence my phone and slide it into my bag. My lawyer and I go over the final details. We don't have to wait long. Maybe 15 minutes later. My bag starts vibrating. Just buzzing and buzzing. Non-stop. I let it go. It stops. Then immediately starts again. I pull out the phone. Missed call from Karen. Missed call from David. Missed call from Emily. Then, a text from my mom. Karen, Lisa, answer your phone. The card isn't working. We can't get the rental car. They said it's declined. I don't reply. The phone rings again. My dad. David. I decide to answer this one. I put it on speaker. What did you do? He's not yelling. He's roaring. I can hear the echo of the airport terminal behind him. I keep my voice quiet. I don't know what you mean. Dad? Don't play dumb with me. Lisa. The cards are all declined. We're stuck at the airport. The airline just told us our return flights. Our flights home have been cancelled because the card used to book them was reported stolen. What did you do? I let the silence hang for a second. What I did? I say. My voice, as cold as the glass on the office window, was protect my assets. You told me you emptied the account. I simply informed the bank. It's not my problem. I add one last thing. Remember, haha. I hang up before he can respond. The phone immediately rings again. Emily. My golden child sister. I answer. I don't say anything. Lisa, you. She's screaming. A high-pitched, hysterical shriek. You, bitch. You ruined everything. You ruined our trip. Mom is crying. You. I don't say a word. I open my photos. I find the screenshot. The one of her text to my mom. Don't worry. It's Lisa. She'll just work harder. She'll never notice. I send it to her. Then I hang up. And I block all three of them. My lawyer just looks at me. Good. She says. Now, let's talk about the next steps. Re-AI, benutzer definiertes, Gem. My family was stranded at the airport. My phone was finally quiet. And I thought the worst was over. Then, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I answered. It was Matthew. My sister's husband. His voice wasn't angry like Emily's. It was thin. Terrified. Lisa. He whispered. Lisa. You don't understand? This is bad. Really bad. I just waited. I wasn't going to help him. I didn't know. He said. Talking fast. I swear I didn't know until we got here. Emily. She had a whole second plan. I felt my blood run cold. A second plan. She was going to call you tomorrow. Matthew stammered. She was going to say someone stole her wallet. That they were all stranded. No ID. No, money. And she was going to beg you. Beg you to send another $5,000. I gripped the edge of my desk. 5,000 more. I asked her what for. He said. His voice cracking. I asked her why she needed 5,000 in cash. And she just laughed. Lisa. She said. It's Vegas. Matt. You gotta have buy-in. She was going to gamble with it. She was going to gamble with your money after all this. He was quiet for a second. All I could hear was the faint sound of an airport announcement in the background. I'm not part of this. He said. His voice firming up. I'm not. I'm sending you the screenshots. The whole chat log. Just don't loop me in with them. I'm done. The call ended. À moment later? My phone lit up. The entire message history between him and Emily. The real one. The one where she laid out her plan to fake a crisis. Manipulate me. And take more. I saved everything. I forwarded it all to my lawyer, with a single note. More. This proves premeditation. The social fallout started almost immediately. My best friend Sarah called me that night. Lisa. You need to know. She said. And her voice was tight with anger. I just ran into a mutual friend. And they told me your mom. Karen. She's telling everyone that you stole the money. That you drained the account to ruin their family trip out of jealousy. I actually laughed. It was so absurd. So predictable. Of course she is. I said. What else can she do? While my mother was busy spinning lies, my sister was trying to control the narrative online. Emily posted a photo from a cheap, dingy motel room just off the Vegas Strip. The wallpaper was peeling. They clearly never made it to Caesars. The caption was perfect. Family first. Always. It's sad when jealous people try to ruin your happiness. But we're sticking together. I saved the screenshot. I sent it to my lawyer. But here's the thing about a town like Austin. It's a big city. But it's a small community. Especially the business community. The whispers my family started began to backfire. People respected me. They knew my agency. They knew my work ethic. The story my mom was peddling just didn't add up. A week later, A local business blog ran an article. It was a profile on my agency. But the title said it all: Austin's iron-willed entrepreneur, turning betrayal into business. It didn't name them. It didn't have to. It hinted at a deeply personal financial battle and standing up to toxic family dynamics. It painted me as a strategist. The day that article went live, my inbox exploded. New clients. Old clients referring new ones. People I hadn't heard from in years. They didn't just want my marketing services. They wanted to be associated with my grit. They saw what I was. I was someone who didn't back down. My revenue didn't just spike. It jumped. 25%. In 1 week, I sat in my office, approving new contracts, while they were stuck in a motel room in Nevada, posting passive-aggressive lies on social media. They thought they could ruin me. They didn't realize they had just given me the best marketing campaign of my life. The courthouse was exactly as you'd imagine. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, and the smell of stale coffee and anxiety. My family was a wreck. My father, David, sat stiff as a board, refusing to look at me. My mother, Karen, was visibly trembling, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Emily looked hollowed out, her golden child shine completely gone. I sat with my lawyer, mes posters straight, my hands folded on the table. I wasn't anxious. I wasn't angry. I was done. I was just there to watch the final act. Their lawyer went first, fumbling through a weak argument about shared family funds and a simple misunderstanding. He tried to paint me as a vindictive, ungrateful daughter who had overreacted. Then, my lawyer stood up, and it was an execution. She was methodical, cold, brilliant. First, she presented the original account agreement, signed by all of us. She read the clause aloud. This fund is to be used exclusively for medical emergencies pertaining to David or Karen. The room went silent. Second, she presented the bank statements. She pointed to the $8,000 charge for Caesar's Palace Suites. She looked at my father. Was this a medical emergency? Mr. Family name. Third, she projected the text messages. My mother's haha. Text filled the screen. The judge physically recoiled. Fourth, my sister's contribution. Don't worry. It's Lisa. She'll just work harder. She'll never notice. Their lawyer was sputtering. My mother was openly weeping. And finally, Your Honor, my lawyer said, her voice cutting through the room. We have the matter of premeditation. She projected the text history from Matthew, the entire, detailed plan to fake a lost wallet crisis, to demand another $5,000, and to gamble. The judge's face turned from pale to a deep, furious red. He didn't just look at them. He glared. He slammed his hand on the desk. Enough. I've heard enough. He didn't need to deliberate. He called them what they were. Malicious, frivolous, and frankly, disgusting. He didn't just order them to repay the funds. He ordered them to pay double. $15,000. He boomed. For malicious and frivolous abuse of funds. Plus all legal fees for Ms. Nose. Lisa's name. This court will not tolerate the financial abuse of family, especially not under the guise of a medical emergency fund. His gavel struck the wood, and the sound echoed like a gunshot. It was over. That was 2 years ago. I'm speaking to you now, from the new office of my agency. We take up 3 floors of this building in downtown Austin. That article, it opened doors I never knew existed. I'm a keynote speaker now. I travel the country talking about digital strategy and building a brand based on resilience. My life expanded. Theirs shrank. David and Karen had to sell the house I had tried to protect, the one they used as an excuse. They sold it to pay the $15,000 judgment and their own legal fees. I heard they live in a small apartment complex now. Emily and Matthew. They're divorced. He testified against her in their divorce proceedings. And I can't say I blame him. She works some entry-level job now. The shine all gone. I received a letter. About a week ago. It was from Emily. Her handwriting was messy. Desperate. I held it for a long time. Society drills into us. Doesn't it? Blood is thicker than water. Family is everything. For years, I felt this shadow of guilt. This nagging feeling that maybe I was the one who broke it. But I've learned that my peace is thicker than their blood. My only regret is that I didn't protect it sooner. I looked at the letter. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel sadness. I felt nothing. It was just paper. I didn't shred it. I didn't burn it. I opened a storage box in my closet. One I keep old files in. I placed the letter, unread, inside a file I'd labeled irrelevant. I closed the lid. It and they were no longer relevant to the life I had built. My story is over, but I want to hear yours. Have you ever had to make that impossible choice? The choice between your family and your own peace of mind? Share your story in the comments. And if you